Hello, thank you for checking out A1 Math, and today we're looking at how to solve a system of equations through word problems. We talked about this in a previous video, but I thought I'd go over it some more. So let's take a look at a few examples. Okay, so in this first problem here, we've got Mike and Arjan each improved their yards by planting hostas and shrubs. They bought their supplies from the same store. Mike spent $202 on 6 hostas and 14 shrubs. John spent $59 on 6 hostas and 1 shrub. What is the cost of the hoster and the cost of 1 shrub? So let's take a look. So what you have is a system of equations. So you have 2 equations, and I'm going to um, underline or box in both equations here. So the first equation here is Mike spent $202 on 6 hostas and 14 shrubs. Arjan spent $59 on 6 hostas and 1 shrub. And we're going to set up each one of those equations and then solve. Okay, so with the first equation here with Mike, it's going to be 6 hostas, and I'm going to use H for hostas. So I got 6H plus 14 shrubs, and that's going to equal $202. All right, on the next one, I've got 6 hostas plus 1 shrub, and it equals $59. All right, now, once you got your system of equations set up, I need you to check for 3 things, and they go in order. So the first thing you want to check is see if any of your variables have the same number. If it do, all you got to do is subtract, okay? And then you stop there. That's the first thing, okay? And I won't go into the other ones until we get to those problems. But take a look and see if any of your numbers, any of your variables have the same coefficient. So if it do, then all you got to do is subtract. So we're going to subtract now. And what's going to happen is one of our variables is going to disappear. So I'm going to take all of this and just subtract it. So 6 minus 6 is 0. 14 minus 1 is 13. So you got 13s. It's equal to 143. So now all we got to do is divide by 13 here. And s is equal to 11. All right, now we know how much the shrubs cost. What we're gonna do is take this shrub and plug it into the equation, and then find out about the hoster. So we'll have 6. You could pick either equation. You're gonna have 6H plus 1 times 11, because that's the shrub, is equal to 59. All right, now you're gonna solve for there. You got um 6H plus 11 is equal to 59. Subtract 11 on both sides. 6H is equal to 48. Now divide by 6, and H is equal to 8. So we've got $11 for the shrub and $8 for the host. Okay, go ahead and take a look at number 2. You can pause the video here and see if you can solve this one. And this is one where, like I said, you just check to see if it has the same variable. If it does, you subtract. All right. So this should be what you have on this one. We've got Amanda and Trayvon here, and I've got this equation here, right here, and then I've got Trayvon's equation here, and I just went ahead and subtracted, got 12 for the ivory, and plugged it in and found S for the grass size. Now, you might use a different variable. You might use G and P for grass and pots or whatever. Or you could even use X and Y. Um, um, as long as you know what each variable represents, it doesn't matter which variable you use. Now, I would say this: there's one that you're gonna see later where it has a word that has O in it. I wouldn't recommend using O because it looks like a zero when you write it down. But you pick variables that make sense and easy to follow. So let's take a look at another example here. Okay, we've got Crystal and Elisa each improved their yards by planting hostas and shrubs. They bought their supplies from the same store. Crystal spent $147 on 7 hostas and 7 shrubs, and Elisa spent $274 on 12 hostas and 14 shrubs. Find the cost of one hoster and the cost of one shrub. So I've got Crystal's equation right here. Let's see. And I got a Lisa equation right here. And I'm going to go ahead and make those equations. And I like to put the total amount at the end. It makes it easier to see there. All right, so I've got 7 hostas. I'm going to use H plus 7 shrubs. That's going to equal 147. And then I have 12 hostas plus 14 shrubs is equal to 274. So remember, the first thing I said to do is to check to see if you have the same number in both equations. And if you do, then all you got to do is subtract. But in this case, we don't have that. So the next thing to do is to see if you can multiply one of the equations by one number and then get the same number. So what I'm saying is this. If I take the top equation here and multiply it by the number 2, what will happen is this 7s would turn into 14s, and then that will give me the same number. So you want to look to see if you could do that. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take this 2 times 7 hostas, 7 shrubs, and then times 147. All right, so once I do that, I'll have 14h plus 14s is equal to 294. Then I have 12h plus 14s is equal to 274. And now all I have to do after that is just subtract. Okay, now once I subtract, I have 2h is equal to 20. And then I divide by 2, and h is equal to 10. Now I'm going to pick the original equation when I plug in this h. So I'm going to take the top equation here, and you could take either one, but I'm going to take the top equation and plug in 10 here. And make sure you plug it in for the right variable. So I've got H, H, and plug it in for H. So now I got 70 plus 7S is equal to 147. Subtract 70 on both sides. That gets me to 77. Then divide by 7. And S is equal to 11. Okay. So remember, the steps. First to check to see if your number's the same. If your number is the same, then all you gotta do is subtract. The second step is if they're not the same, see if you can multiply one equation by one number and make one of your numbers the same. Now, take a look at this next example and see if you can solve for this. This is one where you have to multiply by one number on one equation and get the same number. All right, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, so on this one, we've got high school vans and buses here. In high school A is here, and that's this first equation. And then high school B is here, and that's the second equation. And the number that I multiplied by is 2 again. Okay, so that's going to get me 14 right here. So that can eliminate. And this is called the elimination method, by the way. So then once I solve for the number of vans, I plug that in and then get the number of buses. Okay, now I'm going to take it to the last step here. The last one is what happens if you can't multiply by the same number on uh, multiply by one equation with that one number to get the same number. So I'm going to show you what to do in that situation. All right, so here's number 5. We've got Danielle and Julio improved their yards by planting grass sides and ornamental grass. They bought their supplies from the same store. Daniela spent 271 on 13 square feet of grass side and 14 bunches of ornamental grass, and Julio spent $115 on 3 square foot of grass side and 8 bunches of ornamental grass. Find the cost of 1 square foot of grass side and the cost of one bunch of ornamental grass. So I've got my two equations here. I've got Daniela. Oop, change that. And let me just go ahead and zoom in. All right, that's her equation, and Julio is here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up my equations here, and I've got 13 square feet, and the variable I use there is side. I use S for side, so I got 13 S. And the reason I use side is because there's grass in both of them, so I use side, and then I use B for bunches. I didn't want to use the O because that'll look like 0. So I've got 14 bunches is equal to 271. And then I've got 3s plus 8b is equal to 115. All right, so first, check to see if you got the same number where you could just subtract. You don't. Then next, check to see if you can multiply one equation and make the same number. So I can't multiply the 3 to get by any number to get 13, and I can't multiply the 8 by any number to get 14. So you're going to have to multiply both equations. So to keep it simple, all you have to do is multiply the top number, the top equation by the first number in the bottom equation, and multiply the bottom equation by the first number in the top equation. So this is what you're going to do. I'm going to multiply both of these. So multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 13. And don't worry about the signs because since they're all positive, whatever we get at the end, we're just going to subtract. So now we're going to multiply across the top here, and you get 39s plus 42b is equal to 813. And then you get 39s here plus 104b is equal to 1,495. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to subtract these. All right. Now once I subtract, I get negative, this becomes 0, and here I get negative 62b is equal to negative 682. Then divide by negative 62, and b is equal to 11. All right, so now I've got 11 bunches of grass here. And I'm going to take this 11 and plug it into one of these equations. And let's see, I'm going to plug it into this equation here. So I have 3 times 11 plus 8b is equal to 115. Okay, so now I'll do 3 times 11, and I'll get, okay, made a slight mistake there. Plugged it into the wrong variable. So right here, I should put the 11 here. So now I have 8 times 11, which is going to get me 88. So now I'm going to subtract the 88 on both sides. Then 3s is going to get me 27, and divide by 3, and s is equal to 9. So remember, step 1, check to see if it has the same number. Step 2, check to see if you can multiply one of the equations by one number to get the same number. And if those two fail, multiply the top equation by the bottom number, the coefficient on the bottom equation, and then multiply the top equation, or multiply the bottom equation by the first number in the top equation. Okay, now take a look at this example, and this is going to be one where you have to multiply. You got to swap those numbers and multiply, just like the one I did, and see if you can solve this one. All right, this should be what you get. So again, I took a look, don't have the same number. I can't multiply 8 to get 14. I can't multiply 9 to get 10. So I took the 8, multiplied it up top, 14, multiplied it on the bottom, got my equations, then subtracted. And these numbers are kind of big, but that's okay. We just go ahead, type in the calculator, and you subtract, solve for G, then plug your G in. Okay, so this has been using system of equations to solve word problems. I want to thank you for checking out A1 Math. Have a nice day.